Hello and welcome back to Butchery Mods. Now before we start part 3 of the Boros build, due to the beauty of the internet and the magic of it's like a time machine. To me it's only been a day. To you it could have been weeks and weeks and weeks. It could even be a year between watching them. So with our £20 budget, we haven't spent our £20 budget this week or this month, depending on how you're doing it. This month we're not going to buy a kit. We bought the kit, we're still going to build it. So we've got our £20 budget. What I'd like you to do is go and get a pen and paper. So I'll wait. We'll wait. It's alright. Everybody wait. Don't be too long though, because people will get bored. Are you back yet? Right. On your piece of paper, draw a line down the middle, and then right on this side, right, stuff to buy. On this side, right, stuff to find. You with it? Right. Stuff to buy. You don't have to do it all at once, just when you can. Okay? Stuff to buy. Right then. In one of your local pound shops, this stuff. PVA glue. PVA glue is really important for model making. Okay? It's got 101 different uses. One of the main uses is doing clear parts. Canopies, and for working on dioramas. You'll use it a lot when we start to get onto diorama stuff. So pick yourself some of this up for £1 at your local pound shop. Okay, don't have to be the Tommy Walsh one. Tommy Walsh is great. It's my hero, you know, Tommy Walsh. So get yourself some of that. Right, put it on side. Another thing you're going to find useful to buy from one of the pound shops is one of these. A little toolbox thing. Alright. Why do I want one of these, you say? Now, I'm really lucky in that I've got my little man cave area where I've got my table, I've got my cutting mat, I've got all my paints on racks, I've got my TV, I've got my computer, I've even got a kettle, and the toilet's only across the hallway. I could stay up here for days, apart from when the wife shouts, "Dinner time!" Then I'll leave it downstairs. You haven't got that luxury, so you need something to store your stuff in. And for £1 at your local pound shop, these are great. Because one of the things about our hobby is, some of the stuff we use is quite dangerous. Things like this. You don't want your little brother or sister getting hold of stuff like this. And the glues. Things like that. Alright? I know your little sister and your little brother can be a pain in the bum sometimes, but how upset would you be if something happened to them? Get yourself one of these, put all your stuff inside it, and keep it on top of your wardrobe or something like that, so they can't reach it. Alright, because some of the stuff we use is quite dangerous stuff. So safety first, get yourself something to store all your stuff in. It's a good idea, isn't it? Right, for £1, you can't go wrong. Put that on your to buy side, underneath your PVA glue. The other thing to buy, now it's not a necessity, but it's a nice stuff to have, is this stuff. It's called Microset and Microsol. Okay, it's what we use to put the decals on with. You don't have to, there's a way of doing it with water and other substances, and I will show you how to do that. When we come to doing the decal bit on the Provost, I'll do one side using this, and the other half of the plane I'll show you a different method. Okay, you don't have to get it, but it's very good stuff and it's good to have. And these two bottles, apart from the fact I knocked mine over because I'm an idiot, will last you a very, very long time. I'm talking like a couple of years. Alright, it's worth getting if you can afford to get it. If you can't afford to get it, don't panic. Alright, it's called Microset and Microsol. You can get it in your hobby stores and you can get it online. Right, other stuff to get. A contact adhesive. This is owned by Revell. I actually quite like this stuff. There are hundreds of different types on the market. They come with a metal applicator, like a syringe type applicator. It's not sharp though, it's flat, so it's safe. But this is very good for precision gluing. Right. The other type of glue that you'll get a benefit from later on is Tamiya Extra Thin. Okay, this works on contact. This is a hot glue. And what I said about when we was doing, I said about the undercoat. It's acetane. It's hot glue. What this actually does, this is the strongest bond you'll ever get with plastic. It's like plastic welding. It actually melts the two sides of the plastic. It works on capillary reaction. You put the two parts together, it's got an applicator brush, dot on the side of it, and it runs through the gap, okay, and then melts that bit of plastic to the other bit of plastic, and it takes a couple of seconds to dry, and it's the same as welding. It's the strongest bond you'll get, but it doesn't work so well if your parts are painted. It can do absolute nasty damaging stuff to your paint jobs, right? But we're going to show you how to use this as well. Okay, so Tamiya extra thin, same as the microset and microsol. You can get it in your local model shop, or you can get it online. Okay, if you can't afford to do it, don't panic. This stuff that came with the kit, although it is Satan's snot, like I said in the last video, I'm going to build the kit pretty much as you are if you're at the lower end of the budget scale. Okay, so don't panic. I will teach you how to use this Satan's snotty, horrible stuff. I'll teach you how to use it properly though. Okay, right then, other stuff I would like you to buy, or you need to buy, is not particularly, yeah, we'll do on that in a minute. I'm rambling. I do this sometimes, I just ramble on. Right, you need to buy some flock. Not flock, FM, okay, right. This stuff. This is one that comes in an applicator. You don't have to get it, you can get it in bags. Very, very cheap on the internet. Very cheap, it's very cheap in your model shops. Alright, just get a small amount of it. Flock in green. Because unless you don't want to do a diorama and you want to suspend your provost from the ceiling, it's fine, do that, do it that way. Don't skip this bit. Ignore the diorama stage, which is what we're going to do at the end. But it's handy to have. Flock. Right. Go into your local Wilkinson's or a pet shop. Yeah, a pet store, pet shop. And get yourself some bird sand. This is bird sand, I've used this. It's not just the sand, you get crushed shell grit. Now when you're doing dioramas, this stuff is great. Sieve it, put the sand in one jar, and a little bits of grit in the other. Alright? It's very cheap in Wool. It's about £1.50 I think for a kilo bag. It was great, and there was loads of it. They filled that up with sand and it nearly filled it up with the grit. And that too will last you a very, very long time. It'll probably last you the rest of your life. We're pretty close to it. So, get yourself into Wilkinson's or a pet shop and buy a bag of bird sand. It's not the stuff you put on the bottom of the cage, it's the stuff they add to the food. It helps birds' digestion, apparently. Why birds eat stones, I don't know. Right, that's on the buy bit. Now, on the find it bit, this is the good bits, right? Stuff you'll find, oh no, hang on, there's something I forgot to mention on the buy bit. This stuff, this is Tamiya masking tape, right? Any modelling tape will do, masking tape will do. It's not like your decorator's masking tape. Your decorator's masking tape isn't coated. This is coated with like a wax covering, so the paint can't get actually through. If you used ordinary masking tape that your mum and dad used for decorating, what would happen is the paint would leach through it, and you don't get that nice line. Alright, you might as well not bother. Tamiya masking tape. Alright, it's not that expensive. You buy it like that. You can buy it with a nice fancy dispenser and all that. I've never bothered with it. Just buy the refills. There's loads of. Your model shop will sell the refills. They might not even do Tamiya, they might do other brands. It's all the same, as long as it's waxed. That's the stuff you want, alright? Don't have to get it straight away, but it's something, it's a tool you need, and it's a good tool to have in your box. In the box so that you get it, you can stick on top of your wardrobe, keep your little brother and sister away from it. And your dad, because he'll probably be nicking your stuff to use on his DIY projects. Trust me, it happens. Right then. Stuff to find for free. Little bits of stone. So this is slate. You can pick this up if you live in the right area. If you live in Wales, there's loads of this not in the north or the northwest. It's great. Or any fancy little stone. Not walking to school. Do it when you're walking home from school. Have a look. little bits of stone, little bits of this. This actually, I actually bought this. This was a placemat, and I'll show you one because I've got one I'm going to use for a diorama for a friend's commission I'm doing. Something like that. It's a placemat. Put on your kitchen, on your dining table, and you put your plate on it. It was £1 for £1, and what I did was I wrapped it in a towel. I stuck it in a big carrier bag, and I beat the heck out of it with a hammer, and I ended up with a huge amount. This is about half of what I ended up with. All right, this will last me for years and years for doing dioramas with. All right, £1, or have a look in nature. Pick up bits and pieces of stones and that, interesting stones. Make sure you wash them. Alright. I'll do a video on stuff you can find in nature and how to prepare it and make it safe for model making and safe to have in your house. Because you don't want to bring beasties and nasties in. This is the voice of the Mr. Monster. You probably won't remember that. Captain Scarlet was a cartoon series when I was a kid. It's an animated puppet series. Find some old DVDRs. Ask your mum and dad for some old DVDRs or damaged CDs that don't work properly and that. Because these, we're going to start using these as diorama bases. Alright, try and find some of them. Packing sponge. Packing sponge. Packing sponge is like stress stuff. If you can't find packing sponge anywhere, ask your mum for one of those. You know the yellow scouring thing she makes you use when you're washing up, and it's like sponge on one side, it's yellow sponge, and it's got a green scouring pad on the other. Ask her for one of them, because this stuff is great for doing weathering effects, chipping, paint chipping and things like that. I'll show you how to do that in another video. So packing foam, or if you can't get it, one of your mum's scouring sponges. Ask her first though, don't just whip it out and don't just have it away. Make sure you can have it first. Keep mum and dad on your side. Alright? Now then, other things you might need to find. Let's have a look. Coffee jars or jam jars. You're going to need a couple of jars. You're going to need one for water and you're going to need one for storing your brushes in. So, I think that's it. I think that's what you need for having a look around. Obviously things like your cocktail sticks and your cotton buds. Ask your mum and dad for some of them. Your sister's probably got cotton buds and that, your older sisters and that, when they're doing the wall paint and all that. So have a go for some of them, and let's talk about brushes now. Oh, before I forget, another thing you can try and find is this. I'll just pause it and I'll go and get it because I forgot about this. This is good stuff. Right, we're back. See, I'm an idiot. I forget things. Right, this stuff, if you can find this, I think probably about the only place in the UK that sells it, and you've got to be lucky to find it, is Sainsbury's. Don't buy this stuff online because people charge a fortune for it. Pledge multi-surface wax. Okay, this is an acrylic varnish that's used on floors, but it's acrylic and it's a varnish. This has been a staple of model making for years and years and years. Now some people, posh people who buy all the fancy stuff and that, oh no, it's not a modelling product, it's a floor product. It doesn't matter, it's a floor product, yes, but it does the job, alright? And as a temporary varnish, a temporary gloss coat, it's fantastic. It has its uses, and I'm going to show you how to use it, if you can get hold of it. It's Pledge multi-surface wax. 2 times more, some I say 2 times more shine, as Mike Foxwalks will say. Try and get hold of some of this stuff. Alright, it's incredibly handy for what we're going to be doing. Alright, don't listen to the posh people that say, oh, you shouldn't use other products that aren't made for modelling. They can afford to buy posh modelling products. We can't. So we'll have to use what we can, and this stuff works a treat. Alright, Pledge multi-surface wax. Try and find some of that. Now then, back to what we was going to do. Brushes and brush care. Right. Here is our wonderful, wonderful brush that we got with the kit. Alright. It's got a plastic protecting cap. This is important. Try not to lose this. As soon as you take it off, put it in a safe place. But remember what I said? Safe place that you remember what it is. Put it in your box. Right, either the box that the kit comes in, or your little black toolbox that you bought from Poundland. You know, the safety one that keeps you, that one, alright? Put it in there. You need this, it's good things. It's a good thing. Right. Where's one of my knackered old brushes? Try and find one that's really bad. Here it is. Here's one of my knackered old brushes. Look at the state of that. I've actually trimmed the end of that and used it as a stippling brush. They start off like that if you don't look after them, and they will end up like that. Right, it's like Beaker from the Muppets' hair. It gets like this because I hadn't cleaned it properly. And I'm going to show you how to look after a brush, and how to clean a brush, and how to use a brush. Now, you might think I'm teaching you it's okay to use a brush, right? I'm not. This is serious stuff now, right? The worst thing you can do is open your tin of paint, or your pot of paint. The worst thing you can do is get your brush and go straight in there. Right? What you want to do is you want to get yourself a pallet. It's another thing to get hold of, one of these from a what did I get? Oh, Wilkinson's. They're like £1.25 or something like that. Handy to have. If you haven't got one, use a tile. Ask your dad if he's got an old tile. When he tiled the kitchen, he's probably got about half a box of tiles left in his shed or his garage. Get one of them and use it as a pallet. Or get one of these. And in a moment, I'm going to show you how to make something that will make this pretty obsolete anyway, and your dad's tile. So, get yourself a pallet. Get your paint. Transfer your paint. Let's just use this stick. Transfer your paint. Give it a stir. Always stir it and shake your paints. I've just shaken this not long ago. But give it a stir, because paint is made of different materials that have different weight. So they separate out. So the heavy stuff floats sinks to the bottom. The light stuff floats to the top. All the pigment in paint, if you left it a few weeks, will sink to the bottom. And the carrying agent will float to the top. So always give it a good old stir. Right, just put some on there. Just a tiny bit. We don't need a lot. Just stick it back in there. Right. So we've got the paint on a palette. Like I said to you, the worst thing you can do is get your brush and dip it straight in your paint. What you want to do, this is thinned. I've actually pre-thinned this. I pre-thin mine and think, right. Now if you look at that brush now, there's paint on the end. There's no paint this end. It's very important. Right, don't dip your paint straight in your pot of paint and get it all the way up, because you'll end up with brushes if you don't clean them properly, like mine. Right, so let's get a bit of kitchen roll. That's another thing you want, beg, borrow and steal. Kitchen roll and baby wipes are great to have. Hanging about, let's get some kitchen roll on the job. Right, so we've used ordinary water, because it's acrylic paint, it's water based, so you can clean it with ordinary water. So have an old cup of water about, or a jam jar with water in it. Don't then get your brush and go stab, rough. Roll it, keep the shape. You have to keep the shape and the point of the brush, otherwise it's not going to work properly and you won't be able to paint with it properly. So when you're cleaning it, roll it. As you're rolling it, draw it backwards. Alright. Now that's clean enough for me to start painting it again straight away with another paint. It's not clean enough to put away. Once you finish with your painting, go down to the kitchen, put a tiny bit of washing up liquid in it, rub your fingers, rub it with your fingers like that, get all the washing up liquid in it, then rinse it and rinse it and rinse it. Okay. Now, even then, you're not guaranteed to get every tiny bit of paint out. You'd be surprised at how much paint a brush like that will hold. Right? You're not guaranteed to get it out even doing that with washing up liquid. Then what happens is, if you've lost your little plastic cap, you'll stick it in your pot. I've got about 3 pots with brushes in. Gravity and capillary action, whatever paint gets left in there will fall down to what's the bit that's called a ferrule, and it'll all collect in there and dry, and as it dries it sprays, I'll use the right word a minute, sprays the bristles out. So you end up like a beaker from the Muppets hairdo, right? If you don't clean your brushes properly. So you've got your little plastic cap. Put it back on your brush and store it that way up in a jam jar. Because then what happens, gravity and capillary action will pull whatever paint's left in there to the end of the bristles, and you won't get that splaying effect. You won't end up with a paintbrush like a hedgehog. Good tip that. Right? Please don't be like Dave. Dave's an idiot. Look after your brushes and they'll last you for a very, very long time. Right then, talking about painting, we've gone on to palettes, right? They're great, one of these or an old tile, like I said earlier. A good tool and a very simple and easy tool to make, and one that you'd be really chuffed with. There's a thing called a wet palette. That's a dry palette. It's a wet palette. It's not, it's a takeaway tub. But in about 2 or 3 minutes time, it's going to be a fantastic tool. It's going to be a wet palette. I've used this one for years, this. You can tell, can't you? Right, how do we make a wet palette? Now, get some kitchen paper. Some people use foam, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with using foam. I just use kitchen paper. Cut it to size, roughly. Oh, pair of scissors. Pair of scissors is a great little tool to have in your modelling box as well. Forgot about scissors. See how stupid I am? I forget things. It's my age, I think. So trim it down, split off this edge. Just use one sheet, fold it in half. That's all you need. It's just something to soak up water. Right, pop it in the bottom. That's the first stage. Now the second stage is probably going to be the hardest bit to find. Now your mum might have some. If you're lucky, your mum will have some of this. If not, and you're lucky enough to still have a nan, your nan will probably have some of this, or an elderly neighbour. If you're very friendly with your neighbours, just say, Mrs. Johnson, have you got any parchment paper? Not greaseproof paper. Greaseproof paper will not work. You want parchment paper. Alright? Cut it to size, set it in there. Alright. Greaseproof paper isn't porous. Okay? Parchment paper is. You need something that's porous. And then all you do is you get some water. Let's lift the parchment paper off a minute. Get some water, not a huge amount. Don't drown in it. Put some water in it, just about that amount. Move it around. And your kitchen roll or your toilet paper, don't matter which you use, it's fine, either or if you're posh and you're using a bit of foam. Okay, get that nice and wet and then sit it on top. And that's how simple it is. Put him down. You've just made a great tool. It's called a wet palette. Alright? If you use a dry palette, a normal palette, acrylic paint's water based, and especially when it's quite warm, and when I'm filming this it's like June, the 1st of June, and it's actually quite warm down the south of England. If I was to put that on the palette, within about half an hour it'll be dry and unusable. Stick it in a wet palette, it stays workable for hours. In fact, it stays workable for days when you put the lid on. So once you've finished, you put your paint on there, you've used it, it's flowing lovely, it's great, it's nice and moist all the time, you can work with it, brilliant. Put the lid on when we've finished. Where's the lid gone? Now if you've got a very tolerant mum and dad, they might let you keep it in the fridge, which is a great place to keep it. If they won't let you, don't worry, it's not a problem, it's not an issue. Put it with your black box with all your bits and bits on top of your wardrobe, it'll be fine. That's a wet palette, it's a great tool to have in your arsenal. So, on that note, we'll call this one done. It's just a nice little, here's something to build in the meantime and things to buy. Alright, and in the next episode of the build series we'll get on with actual painting bits and pieces, and we'll teach you how to make lovely little things like washes. So, until then, we'll see you next time. Don't watch me. We'll go and build something, go and have some fun, go on. I've got to turn this thing off now. There we go.